When I was a little kid, told me that I was going to be nothing. I was the boy with the broken brain, and that I might as well just call it quits before I even got started. Kicked out of middle school, bad kid in high school, became a diesel mechanic. Eventually found a way to take care of my family, run a business. Maybe the traditional route isn't for everybody, or maybe you don't have the resources. So back to my story. Became a mechanic, started a computer repair business. That wasn't going so hot. Quality clothing, hustling the shirts in DC and Baltimore, selling the t-shirts. Sitting in the bed, and I'm looking at my wife. She's got this magazine, and she's two strings going across the magazine with those like heavy duty metal clips on either side holding the strings. And I'm like, what is she making? And she's like braiding something. I look over, and next to her is like 2 or 3 of them, like in her hand. Jewelry that she's making. I'm like, what is that? Like, oh, I made an anklet, I made a necklace. Let me see that. I'm looking at it. It's like these cool pastel colors. I thought, holy hell. The clothing was a pain with sizes, storing, shipping. But jewelry, I didn't think about jewelry. And she's like, yeah, I just was making it for fun. She's like, I was just wearing it, you know? And it was this bracelet and this anklet and this necklace. And I'm like, oh, wow. I'm like, okay. I'm like, how many of those can you make? And when I saw it, I pictured a brand. I always liked the creation of a brand. It all started with me looking at CCS magazines as a skateboarder, as a kid. Looking at Toy Machine, Alien Workshop, Zero, get like Alien Workshop. I'm like, this is unique. This is a little different. Or Habitat. I'm like, oh, iPath. I'm like, oh, these dudes got dreads and are listening to reggae. These are the kind of guys that ride these boards. They got to pick up on these little nuances, you know. Damn, dude, I see a brand in her hands. And I went to work the next day as a mechanic, laced up my dirty boots, put my Dickies on. I call them my prison blues. Did that for 16 years. And there's the roach coach. I ate off the roach coach every single day. I shouldn't call his a roach coach. I go to work. I'm in the shop. We use blocks of wood to put underneath the fire truck axles when we take the wheels off the fire trucks. Big blocks of wood. So in our steam bay, we had these huge blocks of wood everywhere. Back in the steam bay, I've got this big block of wood. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, dude, I can make a display. I take the block, pressure wash it. It had oil all over it. And when I pressure washed it and I washed all the oil off, it gave it this like awesome looking, worn out, kind of artisan vibe. Took the block of wood home. I showed it to my wife. She's like, what are you thinking? I'm like, how many of those can you make? Oh, she's like, maybe 50. Make as many as you can, like, and any colors you can. She's like, okay. Drill 4 holes in the block of wood. I go to the craft store. Picked it up. I never knew how to do any crafts or arts or crafts or anything, you know. I could put an image on wood with Mod Podge. So I went to like Joann Fabrics or Michael's or one of those stores. I don't remember. I went to the FedEx. I went up there because you need a certain, there's the Turbo S up there. You need a certain kind of printer. Oh, my bad. My you know how you have 3 cameras on your phone? My 3rd camera, the wide angle's broken. It's cracked. I've been filming the YouTube channel for 2 years with a cell phone with a broken lens. Don't say you can't do something if you stay consistent. Still don't not making anything from it, but you get what I'm saying. Just keep showing up. Something's gonna take off eventually. At the craft store, I buy this circle piece of wood on Adobe Photoshop, and I was torrenting these things like Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Premiere to edit videos when I was growing up as a skateboarder. I learned all these softwares as a skateboarder. I didn't connect the dots till later on in life. The islands on one side, we got the city on the other. Well, I get the piece of wood, I go to the Kinko's, and I got this like bright blue color. I don't know why I did bright blue. Didn't even think about the color turquoise, but I'm gonna explain what happened. I get the Mod Podge because I looked up how to put the logo on wood. I put the Mod Podge all over the wood and I stick the circle thing. I actually printed tons of them because I kept having the circle too big or too small for the wood. And then I put it on the wood. I stuck it on there. Really cool, unique logo that I do with my son. My son was born with a tracheatic esophageal fistula. At the time, my son was probably like 3 by now. It was for my son because we were overdrafting our bank account. Even when I was selling the t-shirts and doing computer repair and working overtime and doing side jobs as a mechanic, we still weren't doing good financially. We had just got our first home. We were tight. We had medical bills still that were coming in. Put this piece of wood downstairs on my dryer. Papers on it with the Mod Podge. I put too much Mod Podge. I remember it was all caked up in there. I was trying to like squeeze it out. I got up to go to work. I used to wake up at like 4:30 in the morning to go to work because I had to drive from Baltimore to DC. And I take it, I try to peel the paper off and it like rips off and it's like glued on there. I didn't realize Mod Podge was like straight up like Elmer's glue. Do this with glue maybe, I don't know. And then I took it and I washed it under the faucet and I rubbed all the paper off. And as I was rubbing it off, dude, I saw this turquoise logo on the wood. I just knew, I'm like, it's game on, dude. Like I was like, This is a brand. I love the creation of the brand. I knew it when I saw the logo. I knew it when I saw her product, when I saw the block of wood. Like, it's your imagination. I just felt it. I knew it. It's your imagination. People nowadays, we're all on social media doom scrolling, but you can't unlock the imagination because you need quiet time. Like Thomas Edison, you got to sit for ideas and get quiet. Quiet when I'm driving. Like, when you guys have a drive, just think, dude. Just turn the podcast off. Just think. Your imagination. Like, what would you want to do if you could do anything? Stop and think. What would you want to do if you could do anything? What is it? Something that popped in your mind. My wife and son's asleep. I'm like, all right, I'm leaving for work. I just left it there. I work all excited. I show my wife. I drilled 4 holes inside of that block of wood on the side. So I had one tall rectangle block of wood standing up real thick, long like a rectangle. And I had 4 pegs, 2 on either side. And I glued that circle on the front with our logo. We had a full-blown display. My wife was still making bracelets. I said to my wife, when you have like 50 to 70 of those bracelets and anklets made, we're taking this display and we're taking all those and we're going to Ocean City. Because 3 hours away from Baltimore was Ocean City, and I would go there on vacation as a kid for 1 week. I wanted to be a surfer because of that. That's why I skated. She's got the display. I call out of work. We take our son. And I pull up into K Coast. I park the car. I'm like, I'll be right back. I go right when we got to Ocean City, dude. We didn't go anywhere. We just went straight there. Everything I heard was no. Everywhere I went, no. No, we're not interested. No. Because it didn't look good. I had them all thrown in a Ziploc bag, and I had the display separate. And everybody was just kind of like, they couldn't see what it was. I wasn't talking to the buyer. I think that's the other lesson I learned. I wasn't talking to the buyer. Well, every store has a buyer. Like, there, you might have someone that owns the store, but they might not be the buyer. You got to get to the buyer. Find out who the buyer is for the store if you're going to do wholesale. If you're not doing trade shows and whatnot, and you're just going store to store, you need to talk to the buyer. You need to go in there and say, who's the buyer for the store? Do you have their email, their phone number? Are they here? I was a kid. I was going in there. I was going in K-Coast. I was probably talking to a 16-year-old girl at the counter. He was like, no, I don't know. Billy's not here who buys stuff. You know, we roll up to this little tiny boutique called Ish Boutique. And there's a wood surfboard on the front of the building. It was cool looking. It was like what's it called? Shellacked, you know, like all shiny and smooth. And it said Ish Boutique in cursive. It was like a little white rancher looking house, and on Coastal Highway. And there was 2 girls in there. They were the owners, so they were the buyers because they owned the freaking small little boutique. And I showed them the display. I showed them the bracelets and the anklets. This is awesome. I love this. And I was like, seriously? She's like, yeah, we love it. She's like, how much? And I was like, I didn't even know a price. I was like, I never thought of the money around it, like the time it took her to make them, how much each one should cost, the material, the display. I remember what I said. I think it was 150 or 100 or 125. I mean, they wrote me a check right on the spot, and I handed them to her. And when I walked out of that freaking store, dude, I felt like Superman. When I walked back and I saw my son in the back of my 2001 Toyota Corolla and my wife in the passenger seat with winter jackets on. We're in Ocean City. I called out of work. We got the check in our hand. We got a hotel room. We could go do whatever we want. And I remember thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, dude. This is what it means to make your own luck. This is what it means to make your own luck. You might see some guy with some house or a thing or a business or whatever, but you don't see all the stuff, all the years and little tiny things that stacked up. And this we weren't even started yet. You know, get what I'm saying? This was already like 4 or 5 years in of just hustling, trying, testing, doing different things, failing, making mistakes, looking like a fool, creating the wrong thing, selling the wrong product, making a fool of myself. You know what I mean? Same thing I'm doing on YouTube. Just years and years, just doing nothing, just on the wrong frequency, not knowing what I'm doing. But every adversity has an equal seed of opportunity. So I was stacking I was loading some stuff in my database that I could come back to and realize, oh, don't do that again. Don't do that. I was stacking losses, which was helping me compound the wins. So I remember walking out of there just like tear in my eye, dude. That feeling, you know, that feeling where you're like, oh, like almost that feeling like you did it. You figured it out like that. I told my wife, we got in, gave the check to my wife. She's like, oh my gosh, like what? This is awesome. You know, she was so pumped, dude, because she made them, you know? And I'm like, this is awesome. So one thing led to another. I continued with the displays. I continued going to stores. A friend of mine who had a candle company, he had his own little shop. He put them in there. He was selling them. We never restocked any of the displays. Like, there was no, like, reorders. I didn't give anyone any information, like, how to contact me. I didn't know what I was doing. Hustling stacking one at a time, you know? And then my wife, it got to the point where she's like, I can't make these anymore. She's taking care of like a young child. My son had a nebulizer. He's on albuterol. We're going to the ER all the time. We're working. She's going to school. She's like, I can't keep making these, you know, because we get like $100 or $90 from like the sale of the bracelets and the display and the anklets and the necklaces she was making. And then like that money'd be gone, you know, and then it's like she has to make more. And it got to the point where she's like, I don't think I can do this, you know. And then I said to her, maybe we could hire somebody to make these. And she's like, I can't teach them how to tie these little knots and all this. She was using super glue and she was tying the knots. I was ordering charms, little charms, and we were going to like Joann Fabrics or Michael's or one of those stores, Hobby Lobby or something, and we were getting all the little cheesy charms from there, and she was putting them on them. And we were selling them. I mean, we were hustling. Try to find something else maybe we can add, but we keep the same brand. So I went on Alibaba. This is right around the time, I don't know when Alibaba came out, but this is before Facebook ads were even running. Around the time they started, maybe like 2011, 2012. I go on Alibaba and I order all this random jewelry, dude. Like, remember I had like ponytail clips. They were like gold. It completely opposite vibe of what she was making. I wasn't thinking. I got like carried away because I was like blown away how cheap everything was. But I had a box come with tons of stuff. I had like at least 100 different items, and each thing was like anywhere from 50 cents to like 90 cents, 89 cents, like all kinds of weird little jewelry, like little dainty necklaces, bracelets, all kinds of stuff. And then I go online and I look up events. I look up like local events in the area, and I found one. It was in the parking lot of a Big Lots in Glen Burnie, Maryland. I had a plastic table. It wasn't an 8-foot table. It was a 4-foot table. It was a tiny little table, like a card table. I had business cards I got off of like Vistaprint or one of those websites that had the brand name, and that was it. I didn't have a website or anything. And like we put the cards on the table, and I just laid all the pieces of jewelry separate on the table, and we sold. And I brought a little box and I had like 5s and 10s in cash. And we sold tons of stuff, dude. Like that ponytail thing that was like $1, I sold it for like $10. I remember I was like, oh, it's 1 for 20 or 3 for 15. And people were like, 3 for 15? I'm like, yeah, 3 for 15. And dude, I sold tons, I'm telling you. My wife and I looked at each other. We had like a couple $100 in that box. And that's when it clicked. I'm like, I just made like my freaking paycheck in like 3 hours at this little chintzy festival. All the things we did, all the way up, I was telling you, from video 1, 2, 3, up till now, that's when it all kind of came together, and I thought, holy hell, dude. Like, I just changed the ratio. The ratio was 1-to-1, me trading my time for money. I'm like, these products are like little, like, I changed the ratio. I guess I didn't change the ratio, I was still 1-to-1, but later on in life, I changed the ratio. Because that matters a lot. If you want, you got to scale the unscalable. I changed the ratio with ads later on. Tons of salesmen basically running around selling things. But I'm going to leave it here, and I'll tell you guys more on the next video. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you on another video.